So first and foremost, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I know a whole bunch of them. And may you have a wonderful day, and we will be praying for you, and we will be praying for all the mothers of ours who have gone and are with the Lord now. And the other thing I want to start off with is that if you haven't heard, there is a new Pope. And his name is Robert Francis Prevost. And his mother's name was Elena Martinez from Haiti and Dominican Republic. And he's from Chicago, from the South Side. Just as a kind of a personal thing, his biography is very much like mine. When he finished grammar school, he went to a minor seminary. He then went to Villanova and then entered an order of friars, the Order of St. Augustine. And that's what I did, except I went right into the Carmelite Friars right after high school. Our biographies dramatically diverge at that point. I'm not in Rome, and he is. So today we have the Sunday that's usually called the Sunday of the Good Shepherd. In a minute I will say something about that word, but it's an interesting thing that this is the Easter season, and many of the Gospels are encounters with the risen Jesus after he has been crucified, after he's been raised from the dead. This one is not. This takes place much earlier in time. It is in the temple. Whenever Jesus gets near a church, it's trouble. And this is no different. He's having a debate with people from the temple establishment, from the religious establishment of his time. They are challenging him. They don't really know that they can accept that he is God's chosen one. And back and forth they go. You just heard it. But in it, he repeats something that he said a lot more about Jesus in the beginning of this chapter of John. And that is that he compares himself to a sheep herder. I like to use that because when you say shepherd, you sometimes then start to think of paintings, Baroque paintings, and musicals, and sweet little dalliances between shepherdesses and shepherds, and it gets very, very sentimental very, very quickly. Patrick Grannon, who's back here today with us, can testify that sheep herders are nothing like that. They drive pickup trucks, they smell, they have dogs like Patrick is trained to help them, and they're people like you and me. You know, it's just that they're in the business of raising sheep, and that is not an easy business because sheep are not very smart, and sheep can easily get picked off and get killed by predators, or wander off and starve to death or die from dehydration and lots of other things. And if your money is in the sheep, you don't want to lose any of those sheep. Now, this is not the first time that we come up against an image for God. The scriptures are full of them. And if I were going to keep you here for a long lecture, which I won't, I could list dozens of them. But for example, God is compared to fire. Remember the burning bush that would not go out, where he appeared to Moses? One of the names for God is El Shaddai, the God of the mountain. God also is a fresh spring of water, which to people living in the desert is a meaningful thing. God is a brilliant light. You know what it's like to be terrified in the middle of the evening, the night. A light is always very helpful, even if it's just a night light that gets you to where you need to go in the house. God even says that he is like a cooling breeze. And after this week's weather, and today's too, a cooling breeze is something wonderful. I felt one of those at 5:30 when I was walking this morning, but it was going by 6 o'clock. God also says he's a cloud. And anybody who needs to live off of farming knows that sometimes you need clouds. You need cover. It goes on and on and on like that. The thing I want to just remind us of is that sometimes we put God way too far above us, way too far away from us. All of those images of God are from the world and life as we know it. So people long before even Jesus' time thought about God in those ways too. Not just as someone remote who you couldn't see, who you had to be afraid of, but someone who was as close as a loving parent. Yes, God is also called a father, and in the scriptures, God is called a mother. Some of the greatest saints called God a mother. Back to the sheep herder. Well, in the time of Jesus, when you mentioned the word sheep herder, for example, there were sheep herders in the field watching over their flocks by night, and lo, an angel of the Lord stood near them and gave them the message of great tidings of great joy that in Bethlehem they would find this baby who was going to be the Savior. Well, when anybody heard the word sheep herder or shepherd, they wouldn't automatically think of wonderful people. Because Jesus himself, earlier in the chapter that we're reading from today, says, some shepherds or sheep herders are hirelings. They have no skin in the game. The flock doesn't belong to them. So they could really care less if they lost one. But to counter that, Jesus says the good shepherd is the one who will let the 99 stay safe and go out and find the one who has wandered off. A sign that God simply will not let us go. Shepherds or sheep herders also were thought to be not trustworthy because they did hard, gritty labor. It's a prejudice we still have today. We somehow think that people who may have less money than us or who do harder work are not to be trusted just because they work outside or they do very, very hard manual labor. Makes no sense, but some people think like that. So, for Jesus to say, I am the good sheep herder, is not just to say, oh, I'm the wonderful guy who will hold you like a little lamb and take care of you always. He is saying that. He is. But he is also, and this is a tricky point, he is also saying that there's some humanity in all of this. And isn't that what we're going to say in the creed in just a minute? We're going to say we believe that God became human. The God, at one point in time, was a little baby who needed to be fed, who needed to be cleaned, who needed to be comforted. The God throughout all of his life as Jesus was hungry, was tired, was afraid, and then in the end, something that all of us will face one day, God experienced what it was like as a human being to die. And not just to die in his sleep, peacefully or suddenly, but in a very excruciating, horrible way on the cross. So really, this Sunday is about God as one of us. God with us, God constantly concerned for us, but also God understanding how we are and how we feel. I mean, sometimes people say, oh, I am so messed up. I have such rotten feelings. Even God wouldn't want to know about them. Not true. Forget about the fleecy little lambs and think about someone in your life who you could always count on, who would always be there to listen to you, who would be patient with you, who would put up with you for all of your stupid faults and the things that came out of your mouth. That's what the good sheep herder is about. But there's one last catch, as there always is, isn't there? And that is that Jesus doesn't tell us that he's the good sheep herder just for us to go, oh, isn't that wonderful? Sing it in the hymns, say it in the 23rd Psalm. Many people have that 23rd Psalm at their funerals, you know. No, the hook in it is that we're supposed to then join the profession. We're supposed to become sheep herders. That means becoming like God. That doesn't mean thunderbolts. That doesn't mean changing the weather suddenly. It means being patient. It means listening, even if it's boring. It means putting up with someone else's grief and pain. It means also recognizing that we too, are imperfect. It means accepting our humanity, but knowing that that humanity is now something that God shares. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Good Shepherd Sunday.